What's happening, people? It's your girl Mina. Welcome back to my channel. You guys already know what it is. First and foremost, big up everyone locked in. Bank holiday vibes. The weather ain't saying much, but it's a United match day, so that's something I guess to kind of look forward to. Today I'm joined by a very special guest, me and Liban, man. We go way back. We go way back.
They don't know. They don't know.
They don't know. But some of you lot might know him,
Yeah.
of course, from SDS, one of the biggest football podcasts in the world. Great to have you here, Liban. Firstly, how you doing?
Nah, I'm good. Well, I appreciate you having me here. Yeah, but just to touch on that, yeah, and tell them how long we've known each other. Well,
We've known each
they
other
think we
for a
just
long time. Well, I think like Pav days, teenage
yeah,
years, five-a-side,
yeah,
long time ago,
yeah,
man.
for years, bro. Like they think we're just internet friends.
Nah, far from it, far from it.
Yeah, nah, well, and also I just wanted to say, like, you're smashing it right now, man.
I
Like, I see
appreciate
all
it,
the work
man.
you're doing. Well, like, you're killing it still. So, just
I
want to give you your
appreciate it.
props before we even begin.
Come on, man. We were talking just before the stream went live, guys, and I was saying to Liban, why do you twerk for Ten Hag? We're gonna come to talking about Ten Hag, of course,
Yeah.
but it's a match day today against Crystal Palace. Big injuries in the team as well. We got 3 more games after this left in the league, and then it's the big one in the FA Cup final. What do you think of just how the season has been so far this year? Because I coming into this year, I was a lot more optimistic in the summer after the transfer window. You know, United brought in a keeper, they brought in a striker, a midfielder. I felt, okay, Erik Ten Hag will build on what he's kind of established last year. Do you think last year was a bit of a fluke?
I don't think it was a fluke, but I definitely get a sense of like we overachieved. I feel like we done better than what was expected. I don't think anyone expected, especially with the start that we had at the beginning of last season. I think him having that season last year, it was always going to be a lose-lose situation coming into this season because once you get top 4 and you get a trophy, if you don't better that, then essentially you haven't progressed. You know what I mean? And the only way you can really sort of beat that is by challenging for the league or challenging for the major trophies like the Champions League or the Premier League. So I felt like this season there was going to be a lot of pressure, and it's been a lot of inconsistency. Obviously, there's a lot of factors that have played into it, but it's just been inconsistent. Yeah, that's the word I can use. Just inconsistency. I feel like, especially with the performances.
But do you think that he's owning it, like in particular, like the manager? Because I always say the manager has to get criticized as much as players do. But you see in his press conferences, he's clapping back at journalists. He's a bit rattled right now. I think right now he's a bit rattled and he's clapping back at people. Do you think he's not owning it enough? Because I feel like sometimes he's I don't want to say gaslight. He's like masking the issue that's really in front of us, and he's hiding it amongst other things. You see that interview with the overlap that he did with Gary Neville.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
And he was talking about injuries non-stop, everything. When he was talking about Gary Neville's asking him about tactics, about vacating the midfield, about leaving Casemiro as a lone six.
Yeah.
He's coming back to talking about injuries. Do you think that he's hiding from what the real issue has been this year?
I don't think he's hiding it. I don't think at the same time, I don't feel like he's doing himself any favors. I think his presses are. I think what people want is transparency, but then even times when he has been a lot transparent in presses, he gets sort of ambushed or sort of berated for that as well. Do you know what I'm trying to say? So it's kind of like
example, because don't say Sancho. Don't say Sancho.
No, not Sancho. Not Sancho. Even like a couple of weeks ago in the presser, he said that our team is not ready to compete for the title next season, and that's realistically that is true. But then he got killed for saying that. So this is what I'm saying is I think the situation at the moment, and obviously the fact that we're not doing well. We've had an underwhelming season. Obviously, there's a large portion of the fan base that don't want to see him next season, and so everything he says now, it's gonna get sort of looked at under a microscope. You know what I mean? So it's like things that wouldn't really be an issue are becoming an issue. If that makes sense. I do agree with you in the sense that he is not being transparent enough, and he's not owning his errors or his mistakes that he's made across the season. But at the same time, he does make valid points. It doesn't take away the fact that he is making valid points in terms of the injuries this season, which has played let's be honest, it's played a big part in why we've done really poorly. If you look at the amount of cases of injuries we've got the record number this season. We've had how many different centre back partnerships? We've had how many different midfield combinations? The lineup that we had last season, the success that we had last season was based on us having pretty much most of the squad available. Up until probably March after the Carabao Cup win, that was pretty much our strongest 11. And since then, we've only ever had that lineup once, and it's been what over a year now.
But let's
to
be
the end of the season.
But I feel like last season, honestly, I think after Barcelona, that's when the real downfall started to show in performances. Whether I don't know if it was fatigue, I don't know if it was down. I don't know what it was down to, but I really started to see a dip in the way that United was playing. And, you know, it's only until, what was it? Was it Sevilla that Lisandro Martinez got injured?
Yes.
And my biggest issue, and Varane, my biggest issue with Erik ten Hag and the system right now that he's trying to build is that it's heavily reliant on one player. That should be, I don't think that should be the case. That's a flaw in your system if it heavily relies on it. He speaks about, you know, the pursuit for Frankie de Jong, and how his goal was to have, you know, a Frankie de Jong and Casemiro partnership. And then in that same breath, he talks about how he's brought through academy players. So if, hypothetically speaking, Frankie de Jong did come to United, what would that have meant for someone like Kobbie Mainoo? You know, it's very circumstantial, some of the successes when you look at this season. And when I say some of the successes, I'm talking about the positives, the Kobbie Mainoo coming through, you know, Garnacho finding his feet in the first team, etc. My only issue with Ten Hag's system and what he's building is, for over 12 months now, the flaws have been there. When there's a specific person missing, the system is whack. And he actually spoke about it in his interview, where he was saying, like, you know, not having naturally left-footed players on the left-hand side makes it difficult to play out from the back and play out through in the passages of play that he wants the team to do it in. Now, I know some people will say the players are not capable of doing it. The players, you know, can't implement what the manager is trying to do. And the manager's even hinted at that sometimes in press conferences, where he's like, oh, you know, the players can't do what I'm asking them to do. I think it's a bit of both. And you actually spoke about it. Next season, he said, you know, we're not challenging. Top 4 is basically our level. If he was to stay next year, and that's the last year of his contract, and in 3 years, he's basically just won a Carabao Cup, would that be deemed as a failure of 3 years? Because Louis van Gaal got slated for way less.
Yes, I do feel like if next season we was to have a similar season to now, or just a top 4 finish, yeah, definitely it will be a failure. But it's like, it's a you know what it is? It's really tough, because I'm seeing the same sort of patterns that we've seen under previous managers.
Like
in the
what?
sense of
Like the players?
Players, the off-field problems with players, again, failure in the transfer market, plays down in tools. It's you're seeing the same sort of repetitive pattern that we've seen under Oli. We saw it under Mourinho. We saw it under Van Gaal, and we even saw it under Moyes. So you're looking at a series of patterns. And this is where I come into the whole Ten Hag thing. For me, it's not really necessarily about Ten Hag. It's more about breaking that cycle. That every time things get tough, we tend to run to the solution of get rid of the manager and bring a new man in, as if that's going to change all the problems. The problems will still be there. And we're seeing that because now we're going on to our 5th manager now. You know, do you get the angle I'm trying to come with? Because it's like,
I get that point. But I'm just wondering, because don't you think it would change now with the new structure, with Ineos coming through, with, you know, Sir Jim Ratcliffe, Omar Barada, all of these guys coming in and restructuring? The way that I see it is, you know, Sir Jim Ratcliffe has come in. He's got his CEO. He's got his, you know, director of football or whatever Wilcox's role is. He's going for Dan Ashworth. He clearly knew all the people he wanted to put in the specific positions. So they definitely know the manager that they want. And the way that I see it is, if you come in and you change everything from top to bottom, you can't leave the middle as it was. You can't leave the manager, because that's if shit hits the fan again next season, they can turn around and just be like, well, he wasn't our guy. We just stuck with him for 1 more year. He wasn't our guy. We just gave him a chance. And that's why I feel like if you're going to change everything, change it completely from like top to bottom. I get you. Manager included, players included, all of that stuff. And I do agree with you that some of these players have been around for 3-4 managers. They're literally onto their 5th manager right now. So I understand that, but I think sometimes it's a lazy sentiment just to be like, oh, it's just the players, and, you know, it's not the manager, etc., etc. I just feel like I don't want to say it's a cop out, but it's a bit of a cop out, if you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, I think you know what it is, and I was saying this on SDS as well. I feel like we can't ignore the fact that Ten Hag, when he came into this job, he was already dealt a bad hand. We can't overlook that. And I said that even though he's had a bad hand, he does still deserve criticism, because I feel like the way he's played with those cards that he's been dealt with hasn't been correct. He hasn't played the right move. So I would never say to people, don't criticize Ten Hag. He deserves criticism. I've criticized him through the season. There's a lot of things that he's done. I'm just like, what are you doing? But at the same time, you're mentioning Ineos. Ineos have come in. Yeah, they've done a audit on the club. So they've looked at the club now. And one of the outcomes from that audit is, and it backs the point I'm trying to say, is they deemed it as the club haven't given him the foundations to succeed since he's come to the job. Yeah, so that is an outcome that Ineos have found through their audit. So it backs the point that he was basically essentially set up to fail. It was always going to be a struggle for him. And bearing in mind that even with this whole situation in terms of with the club, with the players, with the transfer market, he still got us a decent season last year. Yes, this season's been underwhelming, but then you have to also take into account the amount of injuries he's had. So I feel like he deserves criticism, but I feel like it's too harsh to be like, get him out. I feel like my angle is give him one more year under this new structure, see what he can do, and then from next season you'll be able to say, okay, do we need a new man in, or do we still stick with Ten Hag? I feel like next season would be a true reflection of his actual ability as a coach, because I feel like we haven't seen that.
No, I hear it. Big up to Mo, who is the latest member in the community. Big up, welcome to the community. Big up to everyone. Be sure to hit the like button and subscribe if you've just come through. We talk a bit about the manager. Let's talk about the players.
Yeah. Yes.
Because you know the fan base in it. They're divided when it comes to the Brunos and the Rashfords and all of that stuff. What is your stance on Marcus Rashford, just in general as a player? Do you think United should move him on this summer? Or do you think he's a big part to what Erik ten Hag's building?
I think Marcus Rashford for me it's a tough one, man. I see this conversation all the time, and I'm always like, I hear both sides. I always hear both sides, because it's like Marcus Rashford, he's a you know that there's a good player there. You know there's talent there. He's shown it last season, and over the years he's shown that he can, when he puts when he's in the right frame of mind, can be a world-class player. Let's be honest, like we've seen world-class moments, but for us it's just the consistency. We don't see it often enough. That's one. And two, it's almost like sometimes I watch Marcus Rashford and I feel like he plays as if like he's doing us a favor. Do you know what I mean? He plays as if like he's doing us a favor by playing for Manchester United. You know, he came out with that interview, or that little interview that he done recently.
Players Tribune.
Yeah, and he was trying to allude to things like, I wasn't doing this or I wasn't doing that, and I think he was trying to allude to the fact that we're trying to criticize him for doing things off the field. But for me, it's not even that. It's about your attitude on the pitch. Like, we have eyes. Like, we can see you. Like, there's times where I'm watching you and you're not running enough. You look like you don't want to be there.
Yeah.
And you're meant to be Manchester United's number 10. You're like the face of the club. You're the poster boy. You're someone that grew up in the academy. You know what it means to play for Manchester United. You should be the first one that kind of embodies what it means to be a Manchester United player, and you're like far from it. Do you know what I mean? You look like you're far from. You look like you're not even interested in playing for Manchester United. So
do you actually think he's got? Because you said you said he can be world class, and then you said we've seen world class moments. But do you think moments and world class should go together? Because for me, if you're world class, you're consistent. You do it on a. There's no doing it having world class moments in the season. You do it consistently. Mohamed Salah, throughout numbers of seasons, been world class. Eden Hazard in his time at Chelsea, consistently, he was world class.
Yeah.
You look at the players like Mbappe, etc., world class. Do you think Marcus Rashford actually has earned that title? Because I think he's like dipping. I think at his best, he dips in and out of the world class form. It's like, because let's be real, last season when he wasn't scoring goals, he wasn't contributing to games much. He wasn't, but it's because he was scoring at a good rate. He scored 30 plus goals in the season. Is that world class? Yes, that is world class. But doing it consistently, for me,
makes you world class.
That makes you world class. Having world class moments doesn't make you world class. And anyone can have.
No, I don't think he's world class, by the way.
You don't think he's world class?
No, I don't think he's world class. No. Like you said, it comes back to consistency. You need to show it over a long period of time that you are a world-class player. You have to be playing at a world-class level, like you said, for multiple seasons before you're deemed as world-class. I feel like he has world-class potential, but then how long can we keep saying that for? Like, he's 26, turning 27, I believe.
Yeah.
So how long can we say? So how long can we say potential for? Like, if this is what you are, then this is what you are.
Do you think United should sell him in the summer?
I wouldn't say sell him, but he can't be the focal point of the team.
So the main point of the attack.
He can't be the focal point, meaning that he has to be part of a good team. He cannot be the focal point, as in we can't rely on this guy to be the guy to basically push us for a title, because he's shown that he can't be relied on. We have to be honest about Marcus Rashford. I feel like people are not honest enough about him, bro. I feel like it's like his PR is through the roof.
Come on, man.
Come
on. You think Marcus Rashford? You think United Academy kid? You think he took on number 10? He beat the government. That he's the people's hero. Like, his PR is huge. But I always say that the day that because it's not just United fans that criticize him. Marcus Rashford is a target for mainstream British tabloids, the Suns, the Daily Mail,
I agree.
And I always say that the day he took on the Tory government or the Conservative government is the day he put a hit on his back, where he will be watched. They're gonna pocket watch him. They're gonna watch what car he drives, what watch he has on his hand, what house he lives in, what he does with his money. They're gonna watch it. And unfortunately, he finds himself in that circumstance now where he missed the penalty at the Euros, then is having a bad season now this year, has been disciplined for something during the season by the manager. You know, last year he was disciplined as well. If you remember, he was dropped in that Wolves game because he was late for the team meeting. And then now he's in a bad form and he's coming out doing like that. The Players Tribune interview for me that he did, I think it was a good interview, but I just don't think it was the right time to do it. And the reason why I don't think it was the right time to do it is because it wasn't oh my God, I'm struggling this season. Thank you to the fans for supporting me and having my back, blah, blah, blah. He's basically saying, if you lot are doubting me, then watch what I'm going to do. And then we've watched and nothing's really happened. My stance is different to yours. I think United should sell him this summer. I think United
think he should? Okay.
And the reason why
you know what is?
What is it that you think?
I don't like if United fans were to say sell him, like I don't feel like I can argue that. Because he hasn't given me anything to defend. He hasn't given me anything to defend. Do you know what I mean? It's like all those things that you mentioned in terms of, like, obviously he has put a target on his back, but a lot of those things has nothing to do with the performances on the pitch. So if you're saying now to me that you feel like Marcus Rashford should be sold, I can't argue that. Because it's like he hasn't really given me enough to be like, you know what I'm trying to say? Like, he hasn't given me enough to really defend him.
And the thing is like if you remember, like Marcus, right? He's been in United's first team for what, 8 years, nearly 8 years. It's always one season good, one season bad, one season good, one season bad. It's never building on. If he's had a good season, he never builds on it the following season. And the reason why I actually think he should leave, it's not because I think he's shit. I think there's a player in Marcus Rashford. I just think he's still a raw talent. And when you're still a raw talent at the age of 26. Basically, you ain't getting coached because you've got attributes that are at this age. You're not going to change. And the reason why I put a lot of this fault on Manchester United, because I think the best manager for him was Louis van Gaal. That was at a young age. He had Louis van Gaal taking him under his wing, basically coaching him. Last year, people were saying Benny McCarthy was the reason why he was bagging 30 goals in the league, in all competitions. Sorry. Benny McCarthy's still there this year. So I don't know what the excuse is. The reason why I want him to leave is because, like I said, with the manager, with, CEO, director of football, all of that stuff, Ineos need to have a clean slate. And that includes some players. And, next year, 2 years from now, if United are still in a rebuild, we're going to look at the players that are still there. If Marcus Rashford's still there, Luke Shaw's still there, Bruno Fernandes, people are going to be like, oh, they are part of the problem. Look at them. They're another rebuild and they're still here. And also, because he's not getting any younger, 26 years old, you should be in your prime at this age. You're approaching your prime. You've got 3 years left of being at top level before you start to decline. If United is going to go through another rebuild, he should leave. But then the question I ask, and this is a question to everyone in the comments and for you, where would he go? Because I've seen people saying Arsenal. I've seen United fans saying he should go to Arsenal. I've never in my life seen that ever. ever. And it's not even comparative to Danny Welbeck going to Arsenal.
No, it's not. It's not the same. It's not the same. I feel like again, man, Marcus Rashford is such a divide in the community. Like it's hard for me to say. Is that right now, right? Sorry,
Yeah, that's his stats. So this season, 8 goals, 5 assists. Season before, 30 goals, 10 assists. Season before that, 5 goals, 2 assists. Season before that, 21 goals, 13 assists. Literally, I told you, he has one good season, one bad season.
Yeah,
One
the
good season,
consistency.
one
There's
bad
no
season.
consistency. Yeah, no consistency. And I feel like the thing is, because of the pressure of what I feel like people love Marcus Rashford. They love the idea of Marcus Rashford. Like the idea of him looks good. But then when you actually see the performances or you actually see what he's producing season after season, it's not the same. It's not the same. It's not even comparable to the two. You know what I mean? It's like we always talk about those again, like those moments where PSG, you know, that penalty last minute, and like you have good memories of him, but you're talking about people like he's 26. You're looking at players even younger than him. You look at Vinny. You look at Vinny at Real Madrid, or what the type of performances that he puts in, week out. You look at Mbappe. You look at Haaland. These are the type of names that we used to hear Rashford's name next to. But if you actually look at the performances and the stats, and at some point you have to admit that he's a decent player. He's just a decent player that has moments. And if you're gonna build a team that's gonna challenge for the title, unfortunately, you can't rely on him. He has to be again part of a team. Do you know what I mean?
No.
He has like the same way Jack Grealish is for Man City, or like you got like Doku now there. Like he's a player that can give you moments, but you can't be like, yeah, you go us win us the league. He's not a Mohamed Salah. Put it that way. He's not a Mohamed Salah. He's not an Eden Hazard. He's not a Harry Kane. And we need to stop pretending that he is.
Talking about Erik ten Hag signings in the last 2 years, who do you think has been the best one? Because the more that I think about it, there's no standout for me. There is no standout in the last 2 summer transfer windows. And the reason why I'm saying that is last year I was saying Lisandro Martinez, but this year his injury concerns are getting a bit. For me, I think he's becoming a bit injury prone. Like, I'll be honest, I generally think that. I think it's unfortunate what's happening with him. I don't know if it's something to do with his training regime, if it's something to do with the medical team, if it's something to do with Erik ten Hag.
Yeah.
But there is no signing under Erik ten Hag so far that I can say has been 10 out of 10.
Now his recruitment stinks. Well, it's absolutely stinks. Over the last 2 years, you can maybe say Lisandro was a success, but then even Lisandro, he hasn't played for how many games? He's missed out like over 200 days of football.
He's missed over really, like 40 games. He's missed like over 40 games. Nearly 50
It's been over a year.
I think he's played like 5 games this season, or like 6 games. I don't think he's played a lot of games this season.
And that's just like, you actually look at every signing that he's made, Ten Hag, how many of them can you really say are successes? I don't think you can say any. If you be honest, if you have to be really honest about his recruitment has stunk. Like, it's been, you got 90 million on Anthony, yeah. Even the most recent ones, Mason Mount and Onana.
What do you think of Onana? What do you think about Onana?
For me, yeah, I'm a firm believer in you based on how good you are at your actual job. Everything else is a plus. Everything else is it's a bonus. Like, if you're good with the ball at your feet, that's a plus. Yeah. But at the end of the day, you are a goalkeeper. Your first job, your primary job, your job title, it requires you to basically save shots. And that's what I'm going to judge you on first and foremost. Are you a good shot stopper? And for me, when I look at Onana when it comes to shot stopping, I'm sorry, he's not as good or anywhere near the level of what we had before. We're being really honest with that. Has he improved the way we play football from the back? Well, 100%. You can't deny that. We play better football. We build up better football with him at the back, obviously, because he's comfortable with the ball. Fair enough. But as a goalkeeper, some of the shots that he's letting this season, I'm just looking like, wow. 50 million. I expect you. Come on. We're being really honest. The sole reason why we're out of the Champions League this season was because of Onana. And
definitely other individual errors.
Yeah, definitely individual.
Giving away that penalty against Galatasaray, I think it was.
True.
It is Onana. But the thing is like, I don't
Let's
trust.
be honest. Be honest. I can see you need to be honest. You need to be.
Nah,
honest,
everybody knows
yeah?
my people on my channel.
Yeah.
They know my stance on Onana. Is I'm always like we should have just kept the hair and spent that 50 millions and the money that we spent on a mount or something else and buy someone else. I
We should have got
watched.
Harry Kane. I'll be honest.
No, I totally agree. And it's annoying because in that interview, Ten Hag was talking about how he wanted Harry Kane, and I remember an article on the Athletic saying that the data team and the recruitment team opted for Højlund instead because of stats and data and predicting basically longevity of the signing, which is why they went for Rasmus Højlund. But with Onana, for me, I watched a video of his pre-game workout, and wallahi, 30 minutes, 25 minutes of it is him doing passes. Literally, it's 25 minutes of him doing passes, doing long throws, long kicks, all of that stuff. Then about 5 minutes where he's actually doing some goalkeeper drills. And you're saying that we play better out from the back. I don't think we do. I don't see no difference playing out from the back because we're not playing out from the back. If we're being honest, we're going long. Every time the ball goes all the way back to our goalkeeper, especially over the last couple of months, maybe because we ain't got any ball playing centre backs. There's no Martinez, there's no Maguire, etc. Onana gets it and just goes long. And United try, and I do think it's a tactical instruction because I think it's the second ball that United are aiming to recover. But when you're going long to a player like Garnacho or you're going long to a player like Rasmus Højlund, let's be honest, they're not winning the ball in the air. Rasmus Højlund's flaws, one of them is his aerial duels. Garnacho is not a player that should be going for aerial duels from a long kick regularly. You're saying that we play out better from the back. I don't think we do, and I think his goalkeeping is scary.
Yeah. I think it's not necessarily even playing better football, but I just think because last season I remember every time De Gea got the ball, you hear the opposition fans making noises because they know he's not comfortable with the ball. So I feel like now this season, I feel like teams know that obviously Onana with the ball, there's no point wasting your time. A lot of the times he's gonna beat the press or get the ball out to the defenders. So it's like it has changed that aspect of things. I feel like defenders are more comfortable with giving him the ball because they know that he could look after it much better than they did with De Gea last season. So I think from that side, I think it definitely has improved. But again, like for me, it comes down to the shot stopping. For me, at the end of the day, you're a goalkeeper. Do your job. Like Roy Keane says, just do your job.
But were you impressed with him? Because again, he's done an interview with the Overlap and it's coming out I think before the FA Cup final. So I'm looking forward to seeing that because I know that guy. He says some unhinged stuff in interviews. But he even says how Manuel Neuer was his inspiration as a goalkeeper. And in an interview I remember recently, I think it was before the Liverpool game, he said that the best goalkeeper in last year's Champions League campaign doesn't just become shit overnight. And he was talking about himself. He was like, you don't just become crap. It's a new league, new club, everything. And I do agree with you in the instance that Champions League, some of it is down to him. But bro, we stank the Champions League up. Well, we stank the Champions We won one game.
Yeah, we did.
We won one game.
We absolutely stunk it.
And the theme in the Champions League was blowing leads. And that same theme has continued throughout the season. So clearly, I think that's a team thing. A lot of people share the same idea as you, where they say it is Onana. But don't you think then, if your goalkeeper's having a stinker or two in Champions League, drop him? You brought a keeper for how much? Nearly 7-8 million. The guy played one game all season. I'm talking about Bayinda. Drop him and let him play one game. See how it goes. I think Erik Ten Hag doesn't like to punish players for bad performances.
Yeah, I agree, and that's where I feel like he deserves criticism. This is where now I say he deserves criticism because I feel like when you're seeing players not performing well or consistently making mistakes, you need to drop them. The top managers do that, and the top managers are not scared to do that. You need to drop players when they're not performing after consistently. Remember Ferguson, if you had one bad game or even one or two bad games, you're dropped the next game.
Yeah,
you know that you're dropped. So it's like it keeps players on their toes, and two, it sets the standard. If you're allowing players to consistently put in poor performances, then some players are going to think, I can play rubbish today, and it doesn't matter because I'm going to play the next game. And you kind of sense that at times. You've seen it sometimes with certain players. Like there was a time when Marcus Rashford was going through an absolute stinky period, and he knew he was going to play the next game.
Yeah, it was earlier in the season. It was smelly. It was absolutely smelly. With Erik ten Hag, yeah, what do you just think of the style of football that he's trying to implement? Because he came into United, everyone was under the impression that it was this Ajax football. Then he said, I'm not here to play Ajax football. He said, I want to make United, what was it, the best transitional team or the best counter team. I think he said best transitional team in the world. And through that, it's through high turnovers, through pressing, through, you know, these I want to say 2 10s and a 6, because sometimes I feel like it is 2 10s. From the first day in the Premier League this season against Wolves, I knew that was not going to work. When I saw that midfield against getting bullied by Mateus Nunes, etc., I knew that this 2 10s and the lone 6, or 2 8s and the lone 6, was not going to work at all.
Yeah.
Do you think United fans were kind of deceived in the style of football that they were getting? Because, you know, I do think his style of football here and what he had at Ajax is different. But can I just say, at Ajax, they did choke leads sometimes. Like, some of the performances I've seen under United, I'm like, I've seen that a few times at Ajax, and it happened with different players. Do you think it's a flaw in the system?
I think it's hard to say because of the fact that he hasn't had a full squad. I think this would have been an easier question to answer had he had a full squad the whole season.
Come on, man, that's a cop out. That's a cop out, bro.
Let me tell you why. Let me tell you why. Because hear why I say this. Because last season, like after the first 2 games where we got beaten by Brentford. It was Brighton and Brentford. Yeah, it was Brighton and Brentford, right?
Yeah, Brighton and Brentford.
Yeah, it was Brighton and Brentford. He realized he couldn't play the football that he wanted, and obviously he felt that at that time he still hasn't had enough players from that summer to play the way he wanted. So he kind of changed it, played a bit more pragmatic football. But it worked. It worked for him. He had success with it. Fair enough. You know, he done what he needed to do last season. And everyone kind of thought, okay, now this summer you bring in the players that you need, and we need to now start seeing the style of football that you had at Ajax or whatever it was. This season, I feel like he's tried to implement the style, but I feel like what's happened is, with our squad, we got different sets of players, like different profiles of players with different skill sets. And I feel like when you're asking, for example, someone like now, for example, you got Kobe in the 6. If Kobe gets injured now, McTominay has to come in, and that is a completely different profile of player being asked to do the same role. And I feel like I see people now saying that, oh, why does he just revert back to what he did last season? But then at what point would he then be able to implement something? Because I feel like what's costing him right now is that he's trying to implement a style, but he's got a group of players that don't really have the same set of skills that is required for the roles, if that makes sense. So you got Kobe in a 6.
So in that case, do you think the players are failing the system, or the system is failing the players? Because I think if you've got a system and the players they can't play to the strengths of that system, I think you should play to the strengths of the players that you have until you get what you need. That's what I think.
That's true, and that's what he did, and I thought that's true, and that's what he did last season, and I think that worked. And I hear that there was times where I kind of thought like that. Why do you just play to the strengths of the players and just change it up? But then at the same time, it's kind of like what Arteta did with Arsenal. It's like you have to stick to your style and then slowly weed up the players that can't play to that style and then bring in new faces. In that process, there's going to be mistakes. You have to accept that there's going to be periods, like Arteta did, there's going to be periods where you're going to play absolutely horrible football because the players simply cannot do what you asked them to do. And I feel like the system, for me, answering your question now, I think the system is only as good as the players that you have at your disposal. I was having an argument with Lias yesterday about Ange with Spurs. And I was telling him early in the season, like I think it was September, October, and I told him like the system can only be as good as the players. And his argument was, nah, it's not the players, it's just a system, because he's got the fringe players playing well, which is true at the time. He had Emerson Royal playing well, and I think they had that 3-3 draw with City, and they had like pretty much half the team was like the B team. But it's like eventually that's not sustainable. Eventually the players will get found out, and that's what's kind of happened now with Spurs. They got 2 wins out of 8 in the last 8 matches. They have a full fit squad, but it shows that a lot of the players simply can't play to that system. It kind of worked at the beginning when they had a little honeymoon period with the new manager bounce. But at the end of the day, the quality of players will still show at the end. And that's kind of what's happened with Spurs. So I always say your system is only ever as good as the players that you have at your disposal. And I feel like, it might sound like a cop-out for Ten Hag, but it's true. I feel like the players that he has at disposal are just simply not good enough for his system. But at the same time, he deserves criticism because at the end of the day, how many players did you bring into the squad? How many of your players are that you brought in are playing well to the system? No one, apart from Lissandro. Let's be honest.
Yeah, because I look at his system and what he's trying to do, and then I look at the players that he brought in, and I'm like, some of these players make no sense. It's like with the whole Frankie de Jong. How'd you go from Frankie de Jong to Casemiro? That to me, that's two different profiles,
that was
two
a club
different type
signing,
of players. That was definitely a club signing, but also I always say that
Yeah.
Casemiro came to United 3 years too late. If he had come to United 3 years earlier, it wouldn't have been a problem. It would have been perfect. Anthony,
Fact.
for me, is a signing I will never, ever understand. What makes me laugh is that United spent money on Anthony. They spent money on Sancho, all to find the answer to the right-hand side was sitting in the academy. And they just had to bring him through in Alejandro Garnacho. And now we're actually linked to Elise. We're linked to Elise in the summer. A 60 million release clause, why are you not feeling that?
I'm not feeling that one.
Why not?
I'm not feeling it. I'm just not. Like, again, Elise is a good player with good potential, but it's again he's had injury problems. With Elise, as much as he's shown good moments and you can see there's quality there, he hasn't also had the consistent run. Do you know what I mean?
He's got injury problems as well.
Yeah, so Man United need to. You know what it is? We as a club just need to humble ourselves. We need to really accept what we are. Well, like this is the problem we have. Like we think bias in the sense of we still, because obviously a lot of us, me and you, we grew up watching Man United be successful. Like we watch us win Premier League, we watch us win Champions League, and there's a certain level of expectation that we as fans, we expect us to constantly be linked with all these top players, and we have to get the best of the best. But I think Man United have to now accept that we're not where we once were, and we haven't been there for quite a while, and we need to change our whole strategy in terms of when it comes to bringing in players. Like for me, if we're talking about right hand side, someone like Mbeumo, why would we not go for someone like Mbeumo? Do we think we're too good for Mbeumo?
Do you think you'd rather go for someone like Mbeumo
100%.
instead of Elise?
I'd rather 100%. Mbeumo, of course, he's had a big injury this season, but prior to that, he was consistently performing week in, week out for Mbeumo. Creates chances, scores goals, can beat his defender 1v1. Like, and it's probably a cheaper, viable option to have on the right hand side. You know what I'm trying to say? It's like we feel like we just have this idea that we think we're too big. We're too big. Look at when Liverpool signed Robertson for 3 million from Hull City. You got, at the time, buying Salah from Roma, buying Sadio Mane from Southampton. That's the sort of approach I feel like Man United need to start going for. They need to stop this whole spend 90 million on a name, 80 million on a name, and just start looking at players that are performing consistently week in, week out for their clubs in the Premier League, whether it's mid-table team, whether it's in Serie A, whether it's in the League One, and get those players in, rather than thinking we need to go for the top-tier players consistently all the time. Because it's shown in the last 6-7 years, it never worked.
But do you think that, because United did kind of take that approach with going for Onana, bringing in Højlund, but it was at the cost of a big fee. 50, 60 million for a keeper, that's crazy. 70 million for a 19, 20-year-old who hasn't even hit double-digit league goals. Again, crazy. Yeah. United seem to take that approach. And I think what United are now leaning towards, and I think your idea is good. I think that's a good idea. I think, football and the world in general has become very data-led. And football is moving down this whole data-driven kind of network where they are going off of data to try predict what a player could become and analyze that for when it comes to signings, and that's what when we signed Onana, data driven, Højlund, data driven. I think this year it'll be interesting this summer because we're going to come to it, but United ain't finishing in a European top flight position. It will probably be conference. I genuinely think we're playing in Conference League next year.
You think so?
United, yeah, I definitely think that. I don't, because we're going to come to it. But where are we getting 10 points from in the next 4 games?
I get what you're saying. I hear you. But it would have put past me.
But between obviously that finishing in a Conference League spot, that means a dip in revenue. That means a dip in player wages are going to have to go down. They're going to take percentage cuts, etc. Then you're going to have to look at it and be like, okay, so who can we attract? We managed to sign, what was it? We signed Paul Pogba, Ibrahimovic, etc. when we were in Europa. It's under Mourinho's first year, yeah? But you had the people back then were calling it the Jose Paul. People were calling it the Jose Paul as to why we were able to get players like that when we were playing in Europa League. Who's going to come to United now in the middle of a rebuild, because it's clearly a rebuild, in a Conference League position where, you know, some people I don't think are sold on the manager's style of football. You really think, okay, I wouldn't be surprised if we end up with a bunch of Dutch players or players from the Dutch league all over again. And that's if Erik ten Hag stays. I think if another manager comes in, that's even a bigger problem, because it's a new manager coming in. Players won't know their role in that team. The manager is already going to have to agree terms with like people like Ahmed Barada, etc., because they've already said that they want United to play a specific style of football and they want the manager to implement that. So it's a lot of question marks. Who's going to come to a team in a summer transfer window off the back of the Euros, etc., when there's just question marks surrounding everything? Do you get what I'm saying? And that's what that leads me to the point of the next 4 games. We've got Palace today. We've got Arsenal next. Don't even get me started on the Arsenal game. But we've got Arsenal next week. We've got Newcastle, I think, midweek. And then we've got Brighton, final game of the season. Where is United getting points from for the next 4 games?
Oh, shall I be honest with you? In my mind, I couldn't care less about the season. The season is done for me already. Like, I'm being honest. Like, now I'm just looking forward to the FA Cup final. Even though I know.
Why are you looking forward to that? Why are you looking forward to that?
Let me tell you. No, I'm saying that's the only thing that I'm sort of like looking towards. I don't even think we're gonna win that game, to be honest with you. I'm not really confident going into that game. But at the end of the day, it's a cup final. On the day, anything can happen, and I'm just going with that belief. But in terms of this season now, the next 4 games to me, I honestly, and this is really speaking from the heart, I couldn't care less what happens next 4 games, because this season for me
even
is
the
so
Arsenal
dumb.
game, because I know you know about
The
Arsenal.
The Arsenal game is the only game I'm like, I need. We got something for them. That's the feeling I have. I'm like, we got something for them. We might just come there and disrupt the party. We got something for them, but that's me hoping, because on paper, realistically, Arsenal should beat us. Like even Newcastle, home to Newcastle, even that game was spooky. That game's spooky as well. Realistically, we only have a chance of winning today potentially, and even that's a tough game. That's going to be a tough game. Palace away, you know how it's been over the last few years. That's always been a tough fixture for us. And then our last game of the season against Brighton away, you know what's happened there before as well. So yeah,
and
we
even
need to
Brighton
dunk for Sharky. Don't worry, man. We'll do that.
I've actually recorded a preview episode with him this week, so I'm gonna be shameless. Even though I think we sucked this year. I'm gonna be absolutely shameless. But you mentioned
you
Brighton.
have to be. Don't be scared. Don't be scared.
No, I can't. Because you know what? Yeah, you know people in the ends, in it. There's bare Arsenal fans.
Yeah, of
There's
course.
so many Arsenal fans, and all I keep hearing is, we're gonna lift the. 3 months ago, people were telling me we're lifting the trophy at Old Trafford, and I was like, you're not gonna do that. You're not gonna do that. And I don't mind.
We got something for them. We got something for them. I'm telling you, we got something for them. I'm gonna keep telling myself we got something for them on Sunday.
Keep telling yourself that, because at least someone is confident. Because you know the next 4 games, I think.
Yeah.
I was looking at these fixtures at the beginning of the season, and I was like, that's a difficult run at the end of the season. I was like, oh, if we're in a top 4 race, that's going to be a difficult run. But we're not even in a top 4 race right now. Newcastle rolling over Burnley midweek, batting them up after we just about beat them. Brighton have been struggling. I think Brighton have been struggling over the last couple months. But then again, the same excuse that we're using, they could use with their injury issues. Missing key players, all of that stuff. Robert De Zerbi has come out, I think it was after the game on the weekend, and said, I'm not going anywhere. He was like, I love this fans, I love the club, I'm staying. That's what he's literally said. So we can kind of let those rumors go. Erik ten Hag is actually linked as well to the Bayern job. I think he's linked to the Bayern job.
Yeah, Bayern and Ajax, back to Ajax as well.
Yeah, and Ajax. But the next 4 games, I've been saying this for ages. I just want to see the season out. You're looking forward to FA Cup, bro. I couldn't care less. I'm going to a nikah that day. I couldn't even care less about that. I'm going to a family nikah. I don't care about that. I'm not looking forward to it. I just want the season to end. Like, that's my stance. And I don't want no player coming out at the end of the season saying, oh, you know, thank you guys for your support and blah, blah, blah. Everyone just keep it moving. End of the season, keep it moving.
Go home.
Go to your holiday. Go on your holidays. Go to the Euros. Come back and then hit the ground running again. I don't want to see none of that.
Do you feel like obviously, like, I get what you're saying. It's been a disappointing season. It's been nothing but frustration. But the cup final is a cup final at the end of the day. It's a Manchester derby. It's a day out. Obviously, on the day, cup is like, when I always say in cup games, league form goes out the window, and on the day, it's just about what happens on that day. So I'm going in the sense of I know where they're going to be the underdogs. I know we're not expected to win that game, but I always feel like anytime you go into a cup final, cup game, you have to go in with a sense of something can happen. Same how we went into that Liverpool game in the quarters. You have to have that sense of feeling like, yeah, we're not favourites. Yeah, it's not looking good for us, but you never know. You actually never know.
You know what? You're right in the instance that it's
Crazier
a
things have
derby.
happened. Yeah.
Yeah, but like I was more confident last year. I went to the final last year. Wallahi, I
Yeah,
didn't
same.
even
I
get
was
to
there.
I didn't get to my seat. I didn't even get to my seat before they scored. I was too
Yeah,
busy
I was
grabbing
there.
a
I was
drink.
there.
I was too busy
Yeah, I
grabbing a
was
drink.
there.
And by the time I got to my seat,
That was a horrible feeling still.
it was a horrible feeling.
I can't lie.
But you're right in the instance that it's Wembley. It's a day out, summer night. It's good vibes, derby, a cup final. But last year on paper, United had a much better team. Right now, the only fit player centre back we have is Johnny Evans. Going into today's game, Maguire is out for what, 3 weeks? Lissandro Martinez. I've seen people saying he should come back for the final. Do you think he should be rushed back, or would you rather just him sit out the rest of the season?
Nah, rushing back.
No way, seriously.
Well, I rush him back. Rush him back. Even if that means, because at the end of the day, it's the season's ending. What's the risk? Really and truly, what are you like? For me, get him in. If he's like at least 80% fit, get him in. Because I feel like with Lissandro, he's the one player that I feel like when he's in that lineup, his presence, his comfortability on the ball, the way he demands everything, we look like a different team. We look like a different team when he's on the pitch. Even if it's 10% different, we look like a different team. So I feel like even if Lissandro's 80%, me personally, I'm getting him into that team. I'll be so honest.
I can't lie. I disagree. I disagree because
You disagree?
that Brentford game, he came back a couple months ago and he got injured again. He was scaring the shit out of me on the ball. Anytime he was on the ball, I was very, very worried. And I'm not gonna lie, I feel like he's lost a step or two. Because my biggest worry to rush him back for a cup final is he won't be match fit. He'll be training fit, but he won't be match fit. And what do you mean if that's fine? Bro, match. You can't.
Even if
not
he's not
fine.
match fit, you got bench players. If it's a case where he runs out of gas, that's fine. Then we can bring another defender on. But I feel like with Lissandro, anytime one thing I love about Lissandro, is that he's got that dark arts about him, where he just like he's gritty, like he just gets stuck in, nothing phases him, and I feel like our defense, our team in general, misses that. We don't have enough players like that. And I feel like for a cup final, you kind of need that character in your team, especially when you know you're the underdogs. You need that. And I feel like because we lack that, and we have teenagers, Kobe and Garnacho it's like we need somebody that's gonna really get everybody sort of amped up on the pitch. I'm not talking about that before pitch, but on the pitch. You need those type of players that are just gonna get.
That's where your captain comes in. That's where Lissandro Martinez for me.
Come on now. Bruno captain.
Your captain's meant to but your captain is meant to be the guy that's hyping people up and getting them, hyped for the occasion. My only issue with Lissandro Martinez is you cannot have, I think, you have to be match fit against a full City team. We don't have a full squad. Forget even our defense. Like our midfield is scary. But that backline, we need to have a fully the best. Erik ten Hag said it himself. He said the only time he's had his starting 11 in Manchester United in the last 2 years is when we beat City at home last year.
Yeah, facts.
And that is true. That's when we had our best team, and we had Fred, I think, who was in the midfield with Casemiro that game. But Lissandro Martinez, for me, when he's not match fit and he's missing a step, he might be a bit more worrisome than someone like a Maguire or a Johnny Evans or Cambuala.
Can I ask you a question?
Something. Go on.
Can I ask you a question? If we get to the cup final, and we only have one, let's say I'm just giving an example, so let's say on the day the only fit defender we have is Maguire, and then obviously we have Lissandro who's also like half fit. You telling me you'd rather play Casemiro next to Maguire than have a half fit Martinez?
Yeah, I would, and do you know why? Because
I can't do that.
Because you know why? If he's not match fit and he's been training for 2 weeks, I'm talking about Lissandro Martinez. He's been training for 2-3 weeks, and he comes back for the final. Harry Maguire will not have the recovery pace to cover for any errors that Lisandro Martinez might make. And
Facts.
Lisandro Martinez will make errors. He will make errors. It's his first game back in a long time. The weight of the game as well. Like, it's one thing to come back to Palace away on a Monday Night Football, but it's another thing to come back into the lineup after you've been in and out all season.
But Casemiro's got no recovery pace either, though.
Yeah, but that's the thing is we'll play with a much lower line. We won't play with a high line. But Erik ten Hag will see Lisandro Martinez back and be like, okay, we can push up a little bit. We can push our line a little bit. Suddenly we got two slow
that I get. That I understand. Yeah, no, that I get. That I could see. I get that angle of it. 100%. I feel like if he was to see Lisandro in the lineup, he might then try to get a bit brave. You're right. You're right in that sense. Yeah. So that part I can see it. But for me, it's just a sense of if I have a half fit Lisandro Martinez or 80% Lisandro Martinez, me personally, if you ask me personally, would I play him? I would. I can't lie.
But don't you think it's worrying because he's literally this season he's had long injuries. It's not being injured for 1 or 2 games. It's out for he's had more injuries. Like he missed 1 game at Ajax in his entire time, I think. Whilst he was there. I'm worried about his injury record. I'll be honest. I am very worried about his injury record. And the reason why I'm worried about it is not because he's had 1 injury throughout the season. It's because he's had different types of injuries throughout the 1 minute it's a foot problem. 1 minute it's a knee problem. Next minute it's a hamstring. Next minute it's a muscle injury, a non-contact injury. He's had, I think, what was it? I don't think he's had a run of games as well consistently fit this season, and you know, especially off the back of last year. I think players sometimes just need 1 big injury to kind of f them up for injuries for the rest of their career.
I feel like our luck with Argentinian defenders just doesn't seem to hit. Like, because you look at Marcus Rojo, you look at Gabriel Heinze, like,
it's true.
Yeah, they're good. They were all when they did play, they were all good. It's just that they were never fit.
And also, I think it's because of the weight that we put on Martinez last year, because he was our best player. Him and Casemiro were our best players last year, and Casemiro has dipped not because of injuries, but just, I think, age. And he's not even that flipping old. Casemiro is like a year older than me, which is what makes me laugh when I talk about him, because I make it sound like he's old. But he ain't that old. And then Lisandro Martinez has had a dip because of injuries. Hopefully, we'll have a lot more players available for the cup final, but today's game, Palace, predictions. What are you scared of? What are you worried of? Because, you know, on United, we were predicting the game results, and everyone predicted a loss. I said a draw. I said United maybe 1-1. We ain't beaten Palace away since 2020. We've drawn or lost to them like since. I think the last time we drew to them last year when at least they scored that free kick. What do you think is going to happen today? And Monday Night Football as well.
I think it's a bit draw. Yeah, Monday Night Football. I hate Monday Night Football, to be honest with you. There's 2 fixtures I hate the most. It's the 12:30 kickoff on a Saturday and the Monday Night Football. I hate them too. Those are the
thing is, Monday Night Football is funny because I can enjoy my weekend without United ruining it. But then Monday Night Football, everybody is watching. Everyone.
Hate watching.
Everyone is hate watching. It's an 8 o'clock kickoff on a Monday. Nobody's out. Everybody's at home watching the football. And literally, that's the only thing that bothers me. Palace are in a decent run of form as well right now. They're doing pretty decently. And my only Mateta's on fire. Elise, Eze, you know, they got that little Wharton kid in the midfield. My only annoying thing is that everybody is up for it against United. Like Bournemouth, Nottingham Forest, flipping Luton, Sheffield, Coventry. No matter who we play, they're licking their lips. And I think Palace will be doing the same today as well. By the way, I think we lost to Palace early in the season as well. We lost to them at home. They've never done the double over us ever in the season. Never ever. Record today.
I don't think they're gonna win today.
You think it'll be a draw?
I think it'll be a draw. But I'm saying 2-2.
2-2. Yeah. Where's the goals coming from for United?
Bruno penalty. You know, the little Bruno penalty. You know, there's always a Bruno penalty somewhere, and then some sort of set piece goal.
You think we're gonna score a set piece?
Yeah, recently we've been scoring from set pieces.
The confidence for me is good because I said
no, but I just think 2-2. I just think, but I feel like we'll be chasing the game. It won't be a 2-2 like we're winning, and then they come back. I feel like they'll be winning. They'll be, and we're having to chase the game constantly.
So you don't think it's going to be one of them ones where United's leading and then they choke another lead where they concede like 2 in 5 minutes?
Nah, I feel like Crystal Palace will score first, and then we'll have to try and answer. And then it's a little cat and mouse chase, man. We've been doing that all season.
That's been the
chasing
story.
games.
Yeah, that's been the story of not even chasing games. It's like we just make things difficult for ourselves. It's like when you ask your landlord to increase your rent so that you can work harder. That's what it is with United.
Work harder, literally. United,
They just make shit hard for themselves.
100%.
What about
100%.
Arsenal next week? What about Arsenal? Old Trafford, Sunday,
for them, man.
Super Sunday.
Something for them. A natural dagger. We got something for them, man. You know, it's such an Arsenal. You know why? Let me tell you something. It's such an Arsenal thing that Man United have been piss poor all season. Yeah, they've been challenging for the league all season. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
What's interesting is that City play on Saturday, so they play Fulham on Saturday.
Yeah,
so we'll know the result of that. Yeah, so we will know what the result of that before the Arsenal game, of course. So we will know what the pressure is going to be like for Arsenal. If obviously City win, pressure is going to be huge, but it's going to be such an Arsenal thing for them to then drop points against a piss poor United side at Old Trafford.
And they will be killing. They will be shooting. They will be literally killing themselves about it.
Oh, they'll be devastated. Oh my God. Twitter is going to have a field day if that happens. Yeah, it's going to be a field day. And even though I know on paper, realistically, I'm expecting Arsenal. On paper, if you ask me, it should be like an Arsenal 3-0 boppage. Let's be honest. But football's crazy like that. You know, the script writers, they got something for us. I'm telling you. The script writers got something for us.
You know what, yeah?
Dagger.
This sums up United in a nutshell this season, because we were sitting here saying, Selhurst Park is going to be a long one. Yeah, we might draw, but we're going to beat Arsenal next week.
I wouldn't even necessarily say beat Arsenal, but I get the feeling, and it's just a feeling that Arsenal will drop points at Old Trafford.
I mean, it's not too far fetched, because I think they beat us there during pandemic. I think it was during the pandemic they beat us. But
Aubameyang, and we were playing well, and they were poor, I think.
Yeah.
So Aubameyang did the 1-0.
The only thing for me is that, like you said, City played the day before. If City drop points, United have to beat Arsenal, because I don't care, guys. I don't care who wins the league. I just don't want a team to do it off the back of beating us. That's it.
Yeah.
Because 10 years from now, if Arsenal do win the league, they're gonna be like, yeah, we won. The game at Old Trafford won it for us, basically. And I don't want that. I don't honestly care who wins the league, because United's season's been shit. So in my eyes, this season is null and void. It never happened. I'm gonna forget about it. Like I forgot about David Moyes' season. I'm gonna forget about this season as well. Do you think United 12 points up for grabs? By the way, if United have to win. United have to win at least 3 and draw 1, so finish with 10 points to finish in a better position than we did under David Moyes. Points-wise,
tally-wise. I'm saying 5 points max out of 12.
So a win and 2 draws.
A win and 2 draws, maximum.
Who are we losing to?
Maximum. I think today will be a draw. I think Sunday potentially could be a draw.
Okay.
I think we're going to lose to Newcastle.
Okay.
And then I feel like we'll somehow beat Brighton on the last day.
To be honest, last day, there's nothing to fight for.
There's nothing to play for. That's why I wouldn't be surprised if we beat Brighton. Yeah. That's why I wouldn't be surprised if we beat Brighton, because they might not even be up for it like that.
Yeah, there's really, really no incentive at that point.
Yeah.
2 wins out of 9 Premier League games. So we could possibly end the season, 3 wins out of a possible, 13 games? That is a piss poor record. That is. But like you said earlier in the stream, I don't think anybody really cares about the way the season ends. For me, once we're out of top 4, I don't care where in the European spots United finish. Although United shouldn't be in a conference league, in my opinion.
Facts. No, that's embarrassing. Well, I'd rather have no European football than play in the conference.
Yeah, same. No, I agree. I don't think
I would not want to see my team in a conference.
A team like United should not. But that also just shows our level. That shows where we are
100%.
Right now. But big up to everyone, man. Be sure to hit the like button. Be sure to subscribe. Big up to Liban for coming through.
Let me ask you one more question, though.
Go on.
Go on. If Arsenal drop points against us and we end up somehow doing the miracle and win the FA Cup, how would that season? How would the ending of that season be like for you? How would you deem the season?
I would still deem the season a failure.
Of course, yeah.
For me, it's still a
But
failure.
would it change your view?
No, I wouldn't change my view on the manager. It wouldn't change my view on the manager because for me, a cup run is a lot more easier than a 38 game season.
Facts. And I agree. I agree
So
with
the
that.
fact we've literally, if we win the FA Cup, it only took us 5 games to win it. It took us 5 games to win it. When the pressure was really there, Champions League, where 6 games, we crumbled.
Yeah.
You know, we absolutely embarrassed ourselves. When you look at, I think, the entirety of the season, I think the FA Cup winning it is a silver lining in the cloud, but the cloud is still there. And the problems are still there. I've seen people saying,
it'll be sweet though, beating City and Liverpool though. It'll be sweet.
It'll be nice, especially how we won it. Yeah, you're right. Especially how we won it, beating Liverpool. But for me, the Coventry game, it ruined it all. It ruined it all.
Yeah.
If we had bopped them off Wembley Park, it would have been great. It would have been nice. It would have been a vibe. But the fact that we made it a lot more difficult than we should have, and you know, the FA Cup for me, by the way, it just means Erik ten Hag is going to come out in the press conference and he's going to be like 3 finals, 2 trophies. Who else has done that at Manchester United? He's going to say something like that. He's going to be like, I did the 3 finals in 2 years.
I wouldn't put it past him.
But also, a question for you then: is that for you a pass for the manager to stay another year under the structure?
It will salvage what has been a horrible season, 100%. If he was to somehow win the cup, but it doesn't really change my view in the sense of I do feel like as poorly as he's done with the job, I do also feel like he was set up to fail, and I feel like a lot of the problems were, as much as he hasn't done well on the pitch, I feel like there's a lot of problems off the pitch that have contributed to it. So my opinion wouldn't change. I still feel like under this new structure, he's got 1 more year on his contract anyway. Let's see what he could do under the new structure. If it's not what we expect it to be, or by Christmas, it's not at the standard that we feel like it should be at this point, he's got no excuses and he has to leave. Then that way no one can back. You know what I mean? There's no excuses for him if he was to leave. But I feel like right now, you're gonna still get the sense of, did we do enough for him? And the answer,
you know what? It's funny because he said it in the pre-game press conference about how Jose Mourinho basically. What I want to give you the exact quote that Erik ten Hag said. He said, apart from Jose Mourinho, the managers didn't always get the players they wanted, and that is what you need. And for me, that's a low blow in it. I think that's a low blow because I think out of all the managers, Pogba was already coming to United before Jose was kind of in the job. Pogba was coming. Everyone knew Pogba was coming that summer.
Yeah.
On top of that, I think it was Mkhitaryan, Ibrahimovic, and then the year after it was Lukaku. Then he finished second. He got Fred, Dalot, and Lee Grant. Those 3 players.
Yeah, but he signed off Fred, right?
Yeah, I think he wanted Fred. No, he wanted Dalot.
He wanted Fred.
Yeah, no, he wanted Dalot.
He wanted Fred as well, right?
No, he took that. He took Fred because we needed a midfielder, but it wasn't a player that he went and requested.
Fair enough.
Bear in mind, how many people did he ask for? I know some of them is kind of nonsense, but it was Perisic. I remember he was asking. He was asking for bare players, and I just think it was a cop out from Ten Hag to say that, because is Ten Hag suggesting that maybe he hasn't got the players that he wanted? He hasn't, but he's got the funds and he's spent them in other forms. He's spent them in other ways. Whereas some of these managers generally didn't get the money. They genuinely did not get the money to buy these players.
That's why I need to criticize Ten Hag, because I feel like it is a bit of a cop out in the sense of Onana was your player. Mount, you pushed for Mount. You pushed for
Anthony
Mount.
was his player.
Anthony was your player. Lissandro was your player.
Malacia was his player.
The only ones that Malacia was his player again. The only players that you can argue wasn't your player was Casemiro, which was a club signing. It was a panic buy. And who else? I'm trying to think of. Amrabat was your signing. You pushed for Amrabat.
Amrabat was his signing. Ericsson was his signing, even though it was a free. But
maybe if he's saying that I'm not getting the first choice players.
I mean, he wanted Kim and Jay in the summer, and then he ended up with Johnny Evans.
If that's what he's saying, because if it's down to your first options, fair enough. Because he wanted Harry Kane, didn't get Harry Kane. Missed out on Kim and Jay. Missed out on who else? Frankie De Jong. So there are players that I feel like he definitely did miss out on, but that's not an excuse, man. I feel like at the end of the day, you still brought in a lot of the players, and you have to hold that. At the end of the day,
I know
you
you know Chelsea fans. You know a few Chelsea fans for sure.
Yes.
Do you think it's
Yes,
embarrassing if they finish above us in the league?
Oh, 100%. 100%. 100%. That's embarrassing. If they finish above us somehow, yeah, after we've been grilling them all season, it's definitely embarrassing.
And
But
the worst
I
thing
genuinely
is,
feel, yeah.
what were you gonna say?
No, I genuinely think they're gonna drop points to Chelsea. So like even they might not still finish above us just because I feel like they will drop points somehow.
What is it? Let me quickly check what their last couple of games are. They got Forest and then they got Brighton. And then they've got Bournemouth, bro. They got a decent run of games compared to United.
But that's where they fall though. Chelsea's problem is not the big teams.
They've won they've won 3 in a row, I think.
Yeah,
or 3 out of 4. They've won 3 out of 4 since they've dropped
it's because
Enzo.
of Enzo's. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They're saying it's because of Enzo. All of a sudden, that's why they're playing well. But yeah, we'll see if they do it. Because Chelsea, one thing about them, they are inconsistent as well. They've just been just as inconsistent as we've been. So that's the problem with that side. Like, you see that mid-table where it's like from like 6th all the way down to like 10th. You pull 3 wins in a row and you climb up the table so quick.
But that just shows you how shit this season's been for everybody. Like, people have just Newcastle were in a blender for some point of the season. Spurs started off good and just dipped like crazy. I think the only team that's really been in and around that where they've been is Villa. Villa's always been around that 4th, 5th position, but everybody else below them, we've been changing around all season, and that's why I think, you know, you talk about last year, United finished 3rd. Liverpool were in the position where we were in, where they were having a bad season, and then they started to climb up a bit more towards the end of the season. But I think, you know, when you talk about last season, because people always say Ten Hag should have credit in the bank for finishing 3rd and Carabao Cup and FA Cup final. But if you talk about the league specifically, we finished 3rd just about. Them last couple games of the season were like we were grinding out results. Grinding out, trying to get a point from somewhere, and it's because a lot of the other teams around us weren't that good. They were choking their opportunities, and their moments.
No, I was gonna say, if you actually look at Liverpool and United in the last 2 years, they've basically been identical. If you really think about it, over the last 2 seasons.
You know what's funny?
It's crazy, though, isn't it? When you actually,
it is crazy. It is crazy. But what makes me laugh is that Klopp is finishing 3rd this season with a Carabao Cup. His farewell tour is nothing different to Erik ten Hag's debut year at Manchester United. Do you know how funny that is? That is so in that instance, I can be shameless about it, and I could be like, farewell. Forget even like they were talking about the quadruple and all of that. People were saying last year that Erik ten Hag, you know, it was a fluke. It was, you know, first season luck, new manager bounce, all of that. But the fact that Liverpool spent the money that they did it this summer, so Bosley, McAllister, all of these guys, with Darwin Núñez up front, who, by the way, apparently he's blocking bare Liverpool fans on social media, and he took down all his pictures about Liverpool.
He needs to block me. He needs to block me.
He needs to get a restraining order against you. He actually needs to get a
He needs to. 100%.
But it's funny when you put things into perspective. Klopp's last season is basically Ten Hag's first season, and you know, we could sit here and talk about Klopp and his entirety of his Premier League time, but I don't think we should dwell on it too much, because we got bigger problems in it. We got quickly before we wrap it up. FA Cup final. What you said? Is that a win?
Nah.
So you were just saying, oh, we have to believe FA Cup final day out at Wembley.
No. You don't even think we're gonna win. Prediction, though. No. Okay, if you want me, obviously, as a fan, if you want me to, as a Manchester United fan, okay, I'm always gonna be biased in the sense that I always feel like my team can somehow surprise me and do something. But if you're asking me for a realistic prediction, I don't think we win it. I think it'll be like a 3-0, 3-1 boppage at most. Yeah, at the least. Sorry, at the very least. Yeah. That's obviously, as a Man United fan, if you want my bias involved, I always feel like, my team could do something. You never know. It's a derby. It's a day out. You never know. But if I'm being realistic, I would say, definitely a City boppage.
Nah, man, I hear it. Big up to everyone in the chat. If you just come through, be sure to hit the like button on your way out. Listen, Liban, appreciate you coming on. You know, it's always good to talk football.
Likewise,
with you.
Man.
Let them know where they can find you on social media if they want to follow you, etc.
Yes, Twitter, Instagram, Liban LDN. Obviously, also on SDS Podcast, which you can find us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts as well. So yeah, give us a follow there as well.
There you go. If you don't want to hear more of Liban's wild takes, because he's got, I think you were a bit reserved today. I think you were being a bit humble, yeah, with your takes. Because when I watch you on SDS, look, someone just said it in the chat. This is a very different Liban from SDS Liban, because your takes on SDS are wild.
But this is like, no, because you know what it is, yeah. On SDS, of course, I'm gonna be a bit more animated and whatnot. It is what it is, but it's like, these are the same points I was making on SDS. It's just in a different manner. That's all it is, isn't it? Obviously, with you, we go way back. You know what I mean? Obviously, I respect your platform as well. I wanted to give it like a proper discussion. You know what I mean? But when it's Sharky and Lias and Abs and all them, man, I'm giving them different energy because them man talk too much. That's what it is. They talk too much. You know what I mean?
I hear it.
Yeah.
But make sure you check him out on SDS, guys. Go show love to my guy. We go way back.
No, I appreciate that, Mina, man. Yeah, they don't know. They don't know, though. They don't know.
Back, man. It's not new to this. We're not new to this. We go way back, man. From the ends. From the ends. But big up to Liban. Big up to everyone in the chat. I'll be back probably later tonight after the Palace game. Post-match content, all of that stuff. Big up to Liban. I hope you lot all have a wonderful day. I am late for a family lunch, so I need to get going. Big up to everyone, man. You know what it is, man. Hit the like button on your way out, guys. Peace.